Hello, welcome to Life Matters. I'm your host, Brendan O'Connell. Well, in recent years, I've been going to the National Right to Life Convention, and they have this incredible contest from winners from around the states, the United States, on the National Oratory Contest. And it's a very impressive group of people that have to compete against each other. And I think they also make a few friends while they're there doing it and learn a lot about what's really going on both in the teenage area, but then also in the adult area regarding right to life issues. And we're very fortunate that this year the winner is from the Northeast, Rhode Island, in fact, and her name is Safie Lamin. Yeah. Welcome, Safie Lamin.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Safie, how did you get involved with the Right to Life movement, and then also how did you get involved with the oratory contest?
Well, my mother taught me from a young age the pro-life movement and everything about it, and she really is the one that encouraged me to join the pro-life movement and Rhode Island Right to Life and all that. And so ever since I was a little girl, I've always been out on the sidewalk with her, doing sidewalk counseling and like holding up signs and like really preaching the pro-life message. And that's sort of what got me started in the first place. And I learned about the oratory contest through the Rhode Island Right to Life head, who is Barth Bracey, and he really pushed me, and like a lot of other people at the Rhode Island Right to Life were pushing me to join this contest. And then finally I did, and it turned out really well, I'd like to say.
Well, I should say, very much so. I had YouTubed you, and I saw you were a contestant last year also.
I was.
And that's up on YouTube, but 2015 isn't yet.
No, not yet.
And that's why it's so exciting that people can watch this show and maybe hear what your oratory speech was. It was. And now, what prompted you to, there's different topics that are brought up, and what was it that motivated you on the topic that you talked about?
Well, my topic is racism in the abortion industry, and what really motivated me was my passion for both the pro-life movement and also for Black rights. And I feel like that is just, those two subjects are two things that I am very, very, very passionate about, and two things that people don't know intersect with one another. And a lot of people don't know that the root of abortion is based in racism in the United States. And those things that like occurred to me that I found out people aren't reading about this, people don't know about this, it was just something that struck me and something that I felt like this message needs to get out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have on the lifematterstv.org website, we have something called an abortion counter that was put together by one of our board of directors and his son. And we actually had someone from Oakland, a black man, who had been in front of the United States Supreme Court because he was trying to save lives. Can't think of his name right now, but he called looking for me, and then I referred him to Don, and we now have an abortion counter up there for blacks, and there's been over 17 million black lives lost since Roe versus Wade began. I don't know if you know that, but yeah. You can check out that abortion counter online. Well, perhaps, why don't you, if you would like to now, you could give what your talk was, and then we can talk a little bit about that afterwards.
For sure. Michael Brown, Ferguson. Freddie Gray, Baltimore. Eric Garner, New York City. We know these names because of the terrible injustices these African Americans suffered. But I am here today to point out a different injustice, a sneakier injustice that is plaguing the black race. I'm here to talk about the nameless, the millions, the unborn. Where is the outcry for their lives? Unborn black babies are one of the main targets for one of the richest industries in the United States today. However, this is nothing new. As Dr. Alveda King has said, the most obvious practitioner of racism in the United States today is Planned Parenthood, an organization founded by eugenicist Margaret Sanger. The root of the abortion industry is Planned Parenthood. It started out as an initiative called the Negro Project, the incentive of which was to exterminate the black race and all people of color to create the perfect Aryan race. She wasn't quiet about it either. Sanger is quoted saying, Colored people are like human weeds and are to be exterminated. Now, this begs the question, why is this not being made common knowledge? Why aren't we reading about this? Why are there blacks who still support Planned Parenthood and the pro-abortion movement? And the answer is simple: leadership. Sanger knew the way to make her outrageous message sound like a good option for women in need. The beginnings of the Negro Project included horrors like forced sterilization. However, realizing that was not gaining much traction, the leaders of this insidious agenda realized they needed the preachers to get the black population to listen. So Sanger paid off the black ministers to preach out this new alternative. She rallied the most educated black people of the time and won them over to her side. She used the power of the black leader to convince the rest of the population. And it worked. In a letter to her colleague, Clarence James Gamble, Sanger wrote, "We do not want the word to get out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. And the minister is the man who can sort that idea out if it ever occurs to any of his more rebellious members." She knew how to play with the minds of the vulnerable. If a young woman of that time was struggling with an unplanned pregnancy, the person she would go to for guidance from would be her pastor. Sanger knew that if she had the pastors and the leaders on her side, then she had the entire black population in the palm of her hands. The end goal of the Negro Project, it seems, is now coming to fruition. As of this year, for every 1,000 black babies born in New York City, 1,223 are aborted. The birth rate of blacks is below the replacement rate in the US at 1.97. Now, though this is not much lower than the overall national average of 2.0, it continues to decrease and will continue to decrease until abortion is made illegal in the United States. Black women only make up 13% of the population, yet 36% of all abortion are performed on black children. More and more black women are buying into this idea that this genocide of their children is empowering them. Black organizations are being paid off today, just as they were in the beginning, to preach out this new alternative. The NAACP applauded the high abortion rate among the colored community at the NARAL fundraising gala. We stand up for those in our community who are being unjustly harmed and killed, yet we are unjustly harming and killing our own children. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, "The Negro cannot win as long as he is willing to sacrifice the lives of his children for comfort and safety." It is no coincidence that 79% of Planned Parenthood clinics are located in minority or low-income areas. This is simply fulfilling the original plan to be rid of the poor and the colored. And it is no different than the lynchings in the 50s and 60s, it's simply quieter. Dr. Alveda King puts it this way: "The killing tools of the abortionists are as aimed at blacks today as the fire hoses of segregationists 50 years ago." Planned Parenthood has even taken it a step farther by accepting gender and race-specific donations for abortions. In order to expose this new practice, a pro-life organization, Live Action, called in and recorded a conversation with a Planned Parenthood representative. The transcript showed that the false caller was being very blatant about the fact that he was indeed making a racist donation, stating things such as, "The less black kids out there, the better." And still, the representative maintained a happy and even excited tone, stating, "This is the first time I've had a donor call and make this kind of request, so I'm excited and want to make sure I don't leave anything out." This organized mass murdering is but one gear in the machine of systematic racism that is controlling our country. Will this cycle of racism end in the destruction of a race, or will it end with all blacks standing up and speaking out for their unborn? This racist agenda is not just the case at Planned Parenthood, however. Abortion started as a planned genocide, and you can find the same level of racism and discrimination at any abortion clinic you walk into. I pray that the black community, and all people for that matter, become enlightened to the fact that they're contributing to the Holocaust of their own race. I hope they can realize that yes, black lives do matter, even those in the womb. Thank you.
Well, that was really terrific. Thank you so much. There's so much there in that speech. One of the things that I know that I had a co-host, Dr. Mildred Fay Jefferson, and she was basically blocked from going into black churches because she would speak the pro-life message, but the pastors themselves had so many parishioners that were post-abortive women, they were afraid of losing their congregation. How does one counter that? Do you have any idea?
I think the most important thing is getting the Black community educated. Like, I know that was such a big thing for Mildred Jefferson. She is actually, the award I won from Rhode Island Right to Life is named after her.
Oh, really?
Because she came up to Barth and said, we need to educate the young people. We need to get the young people educated and involved in the pro-life movement. And I know that that's like one of the main things for me. I want to be able to spread this message. And it's so hard when people are blocking off the colored people from telling the pro-life message at colored churches and at colored spaces. And it's so hard to like see them contributing to this evil that is attacking their entire population. And I think the most important thing is being able to spread these kinds of messages and being able to keep pushing forward and keep pushing to educate the Black community about this. Because a lot of people, it just comes down to ignorance, not knowing that this is going on at all. And I just feel like what we need to do is not give up in those sort of circumstances and not just say, oh, well, they're not letting me, so I guess I shouldn't, or this isn't really the place. I feel like it really comes down to pushing past your fears of being yelled at or being excluded, and pushing past that and really just trying to get the message out, because it is such an important message to spread to the Black community.
Or you might be rejected too. They might just reject the message. And I was interested, you said that NARAL had a banquet and they applauded that the Black race was being exterminated?
Yes, the NAACP did.
The NAACP had the
They
banquet?
were at the NARAL banquet.
Oh, they were at the NARAL banquet?
Yes, they were.
And were they applauding?
Yes, they were. They were the ones that were saying, this is so great that we're having so many abortions in our community, which is so strange that an organization that is founded on the advancement of colored people is holding back the advancement of the entire race, which really is, it's not very surprising for the NAACP to do.
And the way they're selling the message is that if you're a Black woman, that this will empower you.
Yes,
and
basically.
What does that mean? That you'll be able to get a job, or what do they mean by empower?
I feel like a lot of it is people always seem to think of it as either you have a child or you have a job, or you have a child or you have an education. And I feel like that's one of the things that these organizations are preaching out. Like, oh, if you have a child, then you won't be able to go to college. Like, say, like a young woman, a young Black woman is having a child. A lot of people are telling her to abort because, oh, you won't be able to go to college. And they think, oh, well, if you're Black and pregnant and a teen, then you're just another baby mama stereotype. And a lot of these things are what they're trying to preach against. And they're saying, well, you can empower yourself by just getting rid of this problem, instead of helping them through college or helping them through school or helping them get a job. They're saying, well, you have to get rid of this child in order to get an education. You have to get rid of this child in order to get this job. You have to get rid of this child in order to be valued in society. And it's just something that is so warped in this whole community, that we're trying to tell the Black women, kill your children in order to help the race advance, which is the complete opposite of what it's doing.
Well, it's just, it's remarkable that, that's how they're selling it and people are buying it.
Yeah.
I know that I've had on Dr. David Reardon, and he's done a lot of sociological studies, and he believes that in his studies it shows that about 64% of all abortions, the woman is pressured into having an abortion, whether it be a boyfriend, a husband, a mother, or whomever, peers, or that sort of thing. Are there pressures? Do you see pressures in the Black family and world? Who are they being pressured by mostly, would you say?
I would definitely say a lot of it is parents of the children, the young moms that are pregnant, or a lot of like leaders that they have in their lives, and society, basically. I feel like our society is very based around making women choose between those things like education or child, job or child. And a lot of parents, they want their children, a lot of these kids that are going into college are going to be like the first generation to be going to college, or like the first child in their family to be going to college. And their parents are saying, we don't want you to give up that opportunity. by having to deal with this problem or like this problem child. So a lot of them are being pressured by their parents to give up their child in order to go to college or whatever the situation may be.
Well, what is the solution? Might you have a solution to the whole thing, or some solutions, or some ideas of how this could be rectified?
I think that a lot of it can be helped by changing the way our society looks at single mothers or young pregnant mothers. I feel like a lot of it is that it's geared towards making us choose. But I feel like if it was easier, like if colleges had daycares or high schools even had daycares for children or made it easier for single mothers, if college and high school bathrooms had changing tables, if they just made it easier for single mothers to be able to both work and have a child, or both go to school and get an education and have a child. I feel like a lot of it is very hard on them, especially my sister. She is a young mother and she's a single mother, and it is so hard for her to get along in life, to get a job, to be able to take care of her son and both make an income for her and her son. And I think a lot of it is just based on, it's hard in America to be a single mother. It just is. And I feel like if we changed that whole mindset, if we changed the whole attitude towards it, and if we made it easier to be a single mother in America, then less women would be choosing abortion, and less women would be having to choose between something important in their life or their passion and a child. They should be able to do both easily, as easily as it would be having a spouse or being older, or you know what I mean? And it's just, I feel like if we made it easier to have children and have a job or have children and have an education, then there would be no need for abortion at all.
Well, that gets into the whole welfare system too.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes people feel that welfare isn't a good thing, and it may lead to more having children without having a spouse or a father around. Basically, it's kind of eliminated or rendered less useful the man in the relationship. Mm-hmm. Do you think that that's what? I know this is for someone who's entering their freshman year of college. This may be a little bit much, but what are your thoughts on that?
I don't really know much about that, but I feel, yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, let me ask you. You're going to college, and where are you going to college, by the way?
I'm going to St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. Wow,
Yes.
that's quite a ways away. What kind of a school is that? I hadn't heard of that.
It's a Catholic school. It's very small. It's like 5,000 people.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Uh-huh. And have you had a chance to visit that campus yet? Or?
I haven't. I'm taking sort of a leap of faith. I'm just moving out there in a week.
That's what I did when I went to Georgetown University. I'd never seen the campus prior to showing up there with my trunk and that kind of thing. So, and do you know, do they have a supportive, or at least in the literature that you've seen, do they have a supportive pro-life community there, or do you hope to start a pro-life community or be involved with like Students for Life of America? They've been growing their organization throughout many campuses. Are they on your campus that you're entering, do you know?
Not that I know of. I haven't heard much about St. Edward's pro-life community. Mm-hmm. I have heard that they did have a leader, but she transferred. And I'm really interested in going there and really discovering and researching the pro-life community there. And if they don't really have one, I would be very interested in heading a group there, just because I did attend a conference for Students for Life in Boston this past year, and it really was very helpful and very insightful in how to start a pro-life group on your campus. So I would be very interested in doing that.
I see. I know that Lila Rose, who went to UCLA in Los Angeles, she was very much pro-life when she had entered college, but what she saw at UCLA was, almost exactly the opposite, and that kind of fueled her to press on, and now she's a national figure.
Definitely,
in the pro-life movement. So maybe we'll see you as a national figure.
Hopefully.
Beyond just the oratory contest, which I have to say is one of the most competitive contests I've ever seen. It's really remarkable, these speeches given by juniors and seniors in high school, basically. And they're informed, they're enlightening, and I learn a lot when I listen to these speeches. Well, now, what are you going to be studying when you're in school? Have you decided yet?
Yes, I have. I'm majoring in photo communications, photojournalism, that sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right, very good. Well, we certainly need some on the pro-life side when it comes to photojournalism.
Definitely.
I know that. And what kind of events have you gotten involved in down in Rhode Island beyond the? Have you got involved in other like sidewalk counseling or
Yes.
or anything else that you've done?
My mother, actually, she goes 3 days out of the week and she stands outside of the abortion clinic and she basically gives other options for the women going in and out. And I sometimes go with her. Sometimes it's too early in the morning for me sometimes because I am still a teenager.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right, I understand.
And I also was a co-leader to my pro-life club at my school. So.
Oh, and what kind of things did you do at your school?
We have tried to go down to Washington a couple of times. We did end up going one time, and we basically just do a lot of education training for like the younger students and even some of the older students.
Was the time you didn't make it the time we had the big snowstorms?
Yes, that was
for the March for Life?
Yeah.
I remember that well. It was many buses got canceled from around the Northeast to
they did.
go down to the March for Life. So, well, gee, we really appreciate you coming up here from all the way from Rhode Island to Boston, Massachusetts, and your speech was a wonderful speech, and it's words that really need to be heard out there and understood too, and spread throughout our communities, throughout not only here in Boston but around the Northeast. So thank you very much,
Thank you so much
for coming on the show.
Yep.
And we hope you found today's show to be unique, informative, content-rich, truthful, and thought-provoking. Thanks for watching. I'm Brendan O'Connell, your friend for life.